What is buffer time? What is buffer time? Is what buffer time?
Indeed, what is buffer time? And we are going to explore exactly what that is today. On top of talking about all the stuff that's come out of the San Diego Comic-Con and the Las Vegas Comic-Con while we were on break here for a couple of months. So, before we jump into a deluge of news, let's introduce each other and maybe talk a little bit about what we've done with our summer. I'm Dustin from Best of Trek, Worst of Trek. I went to a water park and I cut my leg open with a chainsaw this summer.
Whoa. Okay, I need to hear more about the chainsaw, but I'm Ren of Ren Rants. I mostly rotted for the summer. It was a rot girl summer. And I did go to the wilderness and encountered 2 bears, and one random man in the wilderness would still choose bears.
Nice. Yeah, I got pretty lucky with the chainsaw thing. It deflected off a little branch and came back. At least it was a battery chainsaw, so I'd already taken my finger off the trigger, but it gave me a nice long gash. Nothing
That's
to go to the
gnarly,
hospital.
though.
Okay, well, we've missed out on a lot of topics. A lot of stuff came out of San Diego Comic-Con, amongst other things. Let's start with the most inconsequential. Whoever Nubia Watches is now has a deal to make some Star Trek watches, as we see here. I guess they're pretty cool. Seems like a cash grab to me.
They're not awful. Probably wouldn't buy one, but they're cool if you're a watch guy.
Glad to hear from you too, Grace. So one of the other cool things that came out of the Las Vegas Comic-Con is some of the new Exo 6 branded figures. And wow, they look really amazing. I don't know what the pricing's like on them, but I know the last one Gannon got of the Cisco was like $400. These things are not cheap, but they are hand painted, and most of them are beautiful.
Oh, wow, those are gorgeous.
Just go through a handful here.
Stuff like this does make me regret ever spending money on Funko Pops.
Right? But they're not like $400.
Yeah, those are amazing. If I hadn't bought any Funko Pops, I could probably buy one of those.
I think these might be my favorite, the Gorn and Trelane.
Oh my god, those are amazing.
I really want Trelane.
The Gorn is so perfectly rendered.
I know Gannon's a big fan of Romulan Kirk here. I don't know about the motion picture Bones. Another one I like Mariner. This is one I would like. I'd like this one a lot.
Oh, good.
One of the only ones I think that isn't quite right, and it's unfortunate, is Garrick.
Yeah. I do like the O'Brien, though. He's pretty good.
I would totally get Vadic here. I did not like season 3 of Picard, but I liked her a lot. I was cheering for Vadic to, like, rue the day, honestly.
Yeah, she was really great.
Worf, not bad either.
Chamomile Worf. He needs a little cup of chamomile tea.
Speaking of Worf, we also have First Contact Worf.
Little suit. That's so good. These are amazing. Oh my god, Prodigy Janeway.
Prodigy Janeway is pretty awesome too.
I like that they specifically did like her cartoony proportions with her weird little legs.
The Chris Hunter Pike, that's a really good one too. And Guinan's pretty awesome.
Oh, I want the Guinan one.
Yeah, me too. I like that one a lot. I think
Beverly's
that's all.
Really good too.
And then they've got these ones that aren't hand painted and they're not movable and dispensable, but they've got this whole animated line that they're going to bring out.
Oh, those are still cute though.
I would totally get Maress. That's pretty cool. I don't think I like the eyes on the Lower Decks characters. They're all bugged out.
No, they're a little silly.
Okay, so did you have any more thoughts on these Exo 6 figures?
Not really, just that they're cute.
All right. So one of the other pieces of news that we got for the cons is that not only has Robert Picardo come back to play the Doctor in Prodigy, he will be back in Academy. So now we know the Doctor lives at least 1,000 years, which is pretty
Unless
neat.
it's the Living Witness Doctor.
I was wondering about that also.
But, I mean, he's a hologram, so, like, either Doctor could potentially live that long with proper maintenance.
Yeah, that would be a really cool thing if, like, it's the original Doctor and then the Living Witness Doctor comes back to the Alpha
Oh, that would be
Quadrant
good!
and they meet up. That would be pretty neat.
Oh, and he, like, fills him in on what happened to the crew. Oh, that'd be cute. I would love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I still haven't seen Prodigy. I know he's in it. If you want to say
I
anything
haven't
without
finished
spoilers
season
about
2
Prodigy, go
yet,
ahead.
but
Yeah.
I need to, like, sit down and watch it, but I haven't lately. There's just been too much other stuff.
Yeah, I don't currently have Netflix. We have a rule of not having more than 2 streaming services at a time. Right now, I'm trying to finish up Battlestar Galactica on Amazon, and I got that originally to watch Fallout, which might be like my new favorite show. I
Oh,
mean,
it's so
my
good. I'm,
favorite
like,
video game
slowly
series.
drilling away at a video on that, but I have to, like, revisit the games first because how can you not? They're so good.
It really is. And the other thing, I've been watching Battlestar Galactica 04 per Gannon's recommendation, and man, that might be the best sci-fi show I've ever seen. I'm on the last season right now.
I actually
Highly,
haven't seen
highly
any
recommended.
Battlestar Galactica. I need to. One of my friends was, like, really into it and tried to get me to watch it, and I just didn't get around to it.
Yeah, I think the whole reason I never watched it when it first came out was I wasn't sure if you had to have watched the original from the 70s and 80s, but you don't at all. There's so many
That's good.
crossovers with Trek too, and
So
Fallout.
cute.
That you made me think about it because when you start New Vegas, Doc Mitchell is played by one of the main characters in Battlestar, and as soon as you hear it, it's like, oh hey, Doc
Oh,
Mitchell.
wow.
Ro Laren's in it for an episode. Amanda Plummer, who played Vadic, Picard season 3, she's in an episode. Struggling to remember. There's a couple other people, like more minor characters that were in like single episodes of Trek, and then there's Lucy Lawless, who played Xena Warrior
Oh,
Princess.
hell
She's in
yeah.
quite a bit of it.
Okay,
As
that
well
makes
as
me look way
as well
more
as Rayner
excited
from
about
this past season of Disco. He was
Oh,
in quite a few
sick.
episodes of it. So we're probably one of these days. I think maybe before Lower Decks drops, we'll do a series of buffer times where we compare other sci-fi to Trek. We'll do like a Star Wars. We'll do a Battlestar.
Oh, fun.
Anything else? Anybody is good with? Let's see if
The
Robbie's
Orville.
hey, Robbie.
Whoa.
Of the Orville.
They're doing a season 4. It just got announced. I'm, like, really
Yeah, I
excited.
saw that. You want to introduce yourself, Robbie?
Yeah, hi, Robbie Sherman. Conversations with Robbie Sherman. Good to be back on the old buffer time. Sorry about the delays, everyone.
It's all good. It's not just you. I didn't even apologize when we came in 15 minutes late because I've had massive technical issues getting things going today.
Yeah, I had to set up a whole new rig. It was not fun.
Well, this is the best I've ever seen and heard you. So, like, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Okay.
So, have you done anything fun or interesting this summer?
I put out a few episodes of my podcast this summer on top of trying to get other projects. I got a music video for a band I'm going to be putting an EP out with soon, so that'll be interesting. A lot of rotoscoping on that.
Nice.
Yeah, that'll be a preparation for an even bigger music video that I'm going to be working on sometime in the future.
Rock on. I love doing music videos.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So, go ahead.
No, go ahead, please. No problem.
I was going to move on to, I was going to ask you guys want to do Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, or Section 31?
I must admit I didn't get around to the Section 31, so both of you can handle that one. I'm so sorry.
That's probably the most to talk about, honestly.
Oh, okay.
So we'll leave that for a little bit. Let's talk about the Strange New Worlds preview, because it wasn't a proper trailer. We got about 5 minutes of an episode, a really interesting looking episode.
Yeah, I really like like the jokes, but I'm a little frustrated that they're kind of ruined for me now. I feel like they would have paid off better. But I guess that's a casualty of the streaming age we're living in, unfortunately.
Pike's hair is out of control.
Just
I don't understand how becoming Vulcan made his hair do that, but
just what do you think? Pike's Peak can't get any taller. Here we are.
Hey, it's a great audition for a new Street Fighter movie if they ever get around to doing one of those.
True.
I hope they never do. How much of gel do you think that took?
there's a pair of
I'm wondering
mouth
if it's a
rounds.
hairpiece.
Maybe it's like one of those like fast food burgers that isn't really like what it looks like in the commercial.
Oh, I do think it's weird that they're like they get turned into Vulcans and then they're like making fun of Spock for being a half Vulcan. Like, that's some sensitivity, guys. Damn. Now your tact disappear too.
What did you guys think about the like rappy breakdance kind of song that played through this, which is really out of place for Star Trek? I thought it was interesting, but very out of place.
It's really obvious what they're trying to do, which is appeal to a younger demographic. And I know we're not talking about it now, but I mean, I think they did the same thing with the Section 31 trailer too. And it's fine. I don't hate it. I mean, I do kind of like when they start incorporating more like music from now and stuff into the episodes and things, because it doesn't make sense for Star Trek's like cultural osmosis of like human culture to have stopped in like the 80s or like earlier, really, with how TNG presents it with the stuff they revisit. So like I think it's fine, but I do think it can also be a little bit, I don't know, like cloying.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not particularly a rap or hip hop fan, so maybe this doesn't appeal to me. I'm not offended by it or anything. Like, let's face it, people 200 years from now, 300 years from now, they're probably still going to be listening to electronic music, different types of rap and hip hop. I don't know how the hell that's going to evolve, so I'm not taking any chances on guessing.
So much jazz.
Yeah. The jazz music.
Nightbird.
Nightbird. So, something we had thrown around when Strange New Worlds finished up its second season was whether or not maybe we were going to get like a running thing where we get a different engineer every season. I really didn't think we were going to see Pelia back for more than one episode. But I would guess by seeing her in this one that we're going to get Pelia all the way through.
Thank goodness. Although it seems like we also saw Scotty, so I'm really hoping that my little hope that she's going to mentor him happens, because that would be so cute.
How do you two feel about that LSD joke?
Oh, I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
Poor Pelia. She's missing out.
Yeah, right?
I thought it was a little more cute than funny. Like I just felt like that was kind of an obvious joke, but the way she says it is cute, and like it helps sell
Last
sell
July. I feel like it is very on brand for her character to have experimented with psychedelics.
She's 1,000 years old. She's got to do something with her time.
For real.
God.
She's 1,000 years old, and she's been a hippie for like hundreds of those years.
The only other thing I had to mention about this was actually not even from this clip, just that we know that Dr. Corby, which we know to be Christine Chappell's
future
fiance at some point, is going to make an appearance. So tie that up. Anything else you guys want to talk about as far as the Strange New Worlds?
I'm not a fan of Chappell's new hair. Bring back the bisexual Bob.
I do like the suits they had. The Yeah, the little like Klingon suits they're in. I think those look snappy. I think those are interesting. That Vulcan suits. What am I doing? I'm so sorry.
I
Yeah, they're
do. I love
Klingon-ish.
how
Oh, okay.
shoulder forward all of the Vulcan and Romulan designs are. They just make me happy. We love a shoulder pad moment.
Yeah, in particular, this one. These are pretty great. And in
Yeah, that's
general,
what
like
makes
the
it so
costume
alive.
designer here for Strange New Worlds has knocked it out of the park every season.
Yeah, the costumes are so good. I'm so glad they figured out how to get the dork out of these costumes over like 40 years.
So I will use that as a segue to something else I wanted to talk about in the Section 31 trailer. Uh, it almost looks like they've spent half their budget on Michelle Yeoh's outfits. They are very flashy and fabulous, and I love them.
Yeah, they do look great. I am excited to see like more of the Terran Empire, not from the perspective of like Prime Universe people, so that's really interesting.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to see. It looks like we're going to get her backstory of how she became Emperor. It looks pretty neat. Um,
If
but
that's a part of this, I'm actually a little more excited for that because that has like character development going into. That gives us a little something to hook on to a little better. Yeah. Okay.
now, the real question is what we're actually going to get out of this, because after watching this trailer, I am like, I'm here for Michelle Yeoh. I'm 1,000% here for Michelle Yeoh. But
Other than like, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say it doesn't feel like Star Trek. It's the least Star Trek like thing that I've ever seen previewed, which
It
might be a
looks
good
like a
thing.
good movie. It just doesn't look like a Star Trek movie. And I also think it's like we learned absolutely nothing about like what the plot is going to be in terms of anything other than her backstory. Like, I don't
I
know
like
anything that's going to happen in this movie in terms of how it relates to Section 31.
I like Wingrace's question here. That would be an absolutely
Ooh.
great thing to bring Linda Park back just to do, even just for a scene. Like she dies and then, you know, Giorgio takes over or whatever.
Yeah, I think you guys kind of outlined like my skepticism about this because I'm not for sure how this is going to fall into actual Star Trek world building. Like, what payoffs are we looking for as far as world building and having this be connected to the other parts of the modern day franchise? I'm really worried this is going to turn into just sort of an action picture with Michelle Yeoh with a little bit of like Star Trek stuff sprinkled in around the edges. That's not what I
Yep.
want.
It's giving
Well,
Into Darkness.
definitely a piece of world building that we know we're about to get is Rachel Garrett,
Hmm.
the captain of the Enterprise C that we had only seen in yesterday's
Yesterday's
Enterprise
Enterprise.
previously. I
I
think
love
they did
that
a pretty good
episode.
job here recasting her as a younger version. And this is set in the Lost era, which is that time in between the end of Star Trek VI and the beginning of TNG that we know next to
Oh,
nothing about. So there's definitely going to be some amount of world building there. It's going to fill in a bit of the timeline. Whether
okay.
they do it well or not, that remains to be seen. But I'm very curious about Rachel Garrett here more than anything.
I like the blue bob they got going on here. That's very
Yeah,
sharp.
but a lot of what we saw in the trailer was either just quick cut action stuff or this nightclub scene. I don't know if this was just flashy and it was good for the trailer, or if we're actually going to spend an inordinate amount of time in this nightclub.
It kind of aesthetically reminds me of the Canto Bite scene from the new Star Wars trilogy.
Oh yeah. Boy, you can just throw those right in the trash as far as I'm concerned.
They were a mixed bag.
I
So
still
they'll
haven't
be
seen the
better.
last one.
Yeah, the
I,
first two I actually kind of liked, but the
I
third one.
saw I saw that third one in theaters, and That movie and the Steve Martin Pink Panther are the only two movies I've been in where most of the audience just got up and left.
What I did like was this quick little shot at the beginning of this this trailer for Section 31 with like funny little in jokes like, oh, colorful metaphors, disintegration, no disintegrations, Delta fraternization, and references to unauthorized time jumps.
I'm a big advocate for Delton fraternization. All the Deltons.
They have to put their oath of celibacy on record to be part of Starfleet. Yeah, we haven't seen enough of the Deltons. I mean, as far as I know, we've only seen Ilea in the motion picture, and then at the beginning of Picard season 2, they were on a Delton planet for just a minute. Any other thoughts about the Section 31 trailer before we move on? This looks pretty cool as part of the, like, she becomes emperor.
Good color coding.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I just wanted to say it's good color coding. Like, they have really good color coding for everything.
I agree. I don't actually recognize anybody else in this main cast.
I like all this leather. That's sharp.
Like cyborg guy in the background there.
Yeah, that reminded me of, like, is that supposed to be like kind of a reference to Rutherford and his implant? And that is a good segue into Lower Decks Season 5, where Rutherford apparently is, and everybody is going to meet an alternate version of themselves at some point.
I like that he has like a little mini arm, a little extra arm for the hug.
Yeah, I like that. That'll be good for fish out of water comedy.
Yeah, I don't feel like we got a lot in the trailer. It was interesting. But it seems like they only focused on this and then just a couple of like quick action pieces from other episodes, which is, you know, probably fine. We knew we were going to get some Tendi badassness as an Orion for a bit.
Then we get Captain Becky Freeman. I am curious about that.
And I wonder in this like alternate version of them, like what happened to her mom?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh man, look at that sexy beard on alternate Boimler. Yeah, look at him.
This kind of reminds me a little bit, just knowing nothing else about the episode, of the Farnsworth paradox from Futurama. Where they go into like these alternate universes that are in these little cardboard boxes, but the first one they go into is everyone's just like a slightly different version of all the main guys. Like Bender is gold, and Leela's hair color is different, and Fry's hair color is different. Their outfits are a little different.
I wonder if they're going to have to chuck anything off the edge of the universe, like in Futurama.
Seems likely.
As far as like major callbacks that we saw, there's the Enterprise, as I call it, sexy time room, the purple room.
The slutty decontamination. Yes, we need the nerds to watch this show, so we gotta oil each other up every time we return to the ship.
That's what we usually do when we have a fuller buffer time crew, right, guys?
This
oil each other up in purple light.
Decontamination procedure.
I learned my favorite new word, boob window.
I'm a comic book fan, so I was already well acquainted with the boob window, the history of boob windows.
This is clearly a reference to the Duras sisters here.
And their fabulous boob windows. They're probably like at least 10% responsible for my bisexual awakening. I grew up watching this show. The boob windows were omnipresent.
I'm so glad to see the liberal propaganda of Star Trek has affected you in a positive way.
Listen, sometimes you gotta just praise Gene's vision. I do like that it looks like we'll see Ma'a again.
I like this concerned look on Worf's face, or whoever this is, while they're getting chewed out.
I think it's Ma'a, her friend from the end of last season, who helped her
Oh,
like
okay.
get herself back on track.
I'm really off today. I'm so sorry, everybody.
You're all good.
All right. And then there's this callback clearly to the Icarus factor from season 2 of TNG, where just a row of pain sticks because
The early seasons of TNG are just there's something else.
They're so
You got that right.
fetishy, like he's getting hit like right where his nipples are.
Yeah, he is getting stabbed right in the tits. Yes, I feel like everyone who like shits on modern Star Trek, just like blanks out like the first 2 seasons of TNG and like most of TOS, and they're like, "Old Star Trek was great all the time. What are you talking about?"
nah. There's a couple more things I was going to highlight. Oh, Mariner and Jen are clearly going to have some kind of mission together, and we haven't seen them anything about like them since they broke up.
I'm still mad about that. I'm still so mad about that. That was bullshit.
As right should be. I'm really curious to see where this goes, whether they just like, tolerate each other for the sake of the mission, or whether they either get back together, have a one-time thing. There's all kinds of ways this could go. But I'm just glad to see it touched on again, at the very least.
I like the
Yeah,
floating golf cart.
Yeah, it looks like they were going off a cliff there, and then speaking of which, there's another one where like Boimler's clearly falling off a mountain skiing. Well, that'll be something to see.
That'll be like those sport goofy shorts, like Boimler just being a goof.
For some reason, I would expect Boimler to be a good skier. Like, I feel like skiing in the holodeck is a thing Boimler would do.
Oh, and I just realized that's a potential callback to another early TNG where like Wesley Crusher's skiing, and then they come out and somehow holodeck snowballs end up hitting Worf and the captain. But we won't try to figure that one out.
I love how fast and loose Star Trek likes to play it with the science. It makes no sense. It's my favorite.
Yeah, they definitely didn't have the holodecks dialed in early on there.
Holodecks are crazy. Like I can never figure out how they like make these giant expanses within a room that's like maybe the size of a small trailer sometimes.
Treadmills, and some of it's replicated, some of it's holographic. We're not going to tell you what's what, but it is.
We're able to eat the food and drink the drink, but we won't explain it.
Is this whatever Tendy's being turned into, presumably to go on like a pre-warp civilization mission? Is this a race that you recognize that I'm not getting here?
I don't immediately recognize these giraffe guys.
Yeah, I don't have any idea what these whatchamacallits are.
Shy of that, I don't have much to talk about.
Ooh, look at their little cottagecore moment, though.
Actually, the green and purple here is really striking. I like this a lot.
It's a nice little scene. Okay, that's all I had about the lower decks. Do you guys have anything else you wanted to say before we move on to... Well, I guess we're moving on... Oh, to the Untitled Trek comedy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much about it. We know it's one of the main producers is going to be Tawny Newsome. That it's going to be live action.
I
I imagine.
wonder if the tone's going to be similar to that one short trek where they had H. John Benjamin with the Tribbles.
Okay.
I completely forgot about that. That was
I
great.
was wondering, do you think it's just going to be like the Orville, but actual Star Trek branding?
Oh my god, now I do. Wow, if I was I bet Seth MacFarlane's mad.
Well, he's got another season of the Orville coming
He
up, so
does.
he doesn't
But
have to worry yet.
he only made the Orville because they didn't let him make Star Trek. He like went to Paramount and like pitched Star Trek and they were like, no. He's like, well, fine, I'll make my own Star Trek with blackjack and hookers.
Speaking of people that need to be given the title of showrunner in Star Trek, an old Star Trek favorite, Ronald D. Moore, needs to be given a show. I don't really want a Star Trek legacy, but if they could get Ronald D. Moore to come back and do it, now that I've seen most of Battlestar Galactica, which is created by Ronald D. Moore, and my wife's a huge fan of Outlander, I've seen just enough of that to know that even though it's not my cup of tea, it's a well done show and well done to its universe. And Ronald D. Moore got his start with Star Trek, so yeah, I would like to see him come back and do a show.
One quick inquiry for you, Dustin. What do you think is superior on a dramatic level, the early 2000s Battlestar Galactica or the original Battlestar Galactica?
I can't tell you because I've never seen the original. That was what before you came on the stream, we were kind of talking about it a little bit, and I said of the only reasons I didn't watch it when it first came out in 2004 was because I felt like, oh, you must have needed to have seen the original from the 70s and 80s, but that's not really the case.
I haven't even seen a lot of the original. Like, I just kind of watched it here and there on cable when I was really dumb as a kid and just didn't want to do anything. But let me tell you, you do not need to see that original to enjoy it.
Yeah, I remember seeing an episode or two when I was a kid and being like, yeah, this isn't Star Trek, that's for sure.
Yeah, dramatically, it does not matter if you watch the original one. I'd say the best part about the original one is watching like all these little sets and stuff on there, like actual sets and spaceships that they did for a TV budget that look pretty okay for 1970s TV sci-fi, but that's really where the high point comes in.
And that's pretty much what I'd say about the 2000s one. The CGI, like when you compare it to Enterprise that was going on at the same time, the CGI is miles better in Battlestar. Okay. Oh yeah. There's only a couple that have been like, yeah, that's pretty noticeably egregious, but most of them are. It's really well done for the time.
Now is Rebecca Romaine in that 2000 Battlestar Galactica? Or am I
not
thinking
that I know of?
Okay, never mind.
Not that I know of.
Wipe it from your minds, people of the internet. I made no mistakes whatsoever.
So back to the Untitled Trek comedy. Is this a good thing that we're doing more comedy in a serious franchise?
I'm hesitant. I think I the fact that Tawny Newsome is involved does make me feel better about it because I really enjoyed the crossover episode, and it did show that the humor can translate pretty effectively to live action. But I don't know. I feel like it's hard to take the kind of liberties that you would want to take with a comedy series like that without kind of like fucking around with the tone that the rest of the series has. I don't know. It could go either way. I'm open to being surprised.
I'm open to it, but I also think like we might come up with some hot air because we've had so many seasons of Lower Decks, and they've gotten some good meta punchlines in. So I just don't know how much further we can take Star Trek, like making fun of itself. Where's the humor going to come from in this series? And look, I don't have a problem with the meta satirizing of Lower Decks at times, and they've found a really good balance of keeping it an actual series without it falling over into just complete, like bullshit. Like they found a really good balance of making Lower Decks an actual Star Trek series while making fun of itself. So, this new series is going to have to find a way to divide that line. That's the good thing about the Orville. It can always take the piss out of Star Trek because it's not a Star Trek show. So we don't necessarily have the exact same expectations for it that we do in a mainline Star Trek series.
The other thing though is like with the Orville, the first season was definitely like the raunchiest and the most comedy focused, and parts of it were like the worst. And parts of it were really good, but it was at its best when it like subdued the comedy more and focused more on the serious storylines. And so in live action, the funny stuff that like worked really well in Lower Decks as a cartoon, I'm still just a little bit like, can this sustain a whole series that will still feel like it belongs in Star Trek?
I totally agree. I think taking away that level of reality and having it be a cartoon also helps us accept it, poking fun at the series. So I'm wondering, like, what are the comedic targets, coming up? Like, will it just become another Star Trek series that has little bits of humor going on with it? That's why I'm mostly interested in seeing.
Do you think it will just end up being a live action extension of Lower Decks?
Oh, good possibility. They've already got all the. Yeah, there's a good possibility. I mean, they already got all these building blocks from the past few seasons. I don't see why they wouldn't do it. How are we feeling about the live action Lower Decks people showing up for that Strange New Worlds at this point?
Oh, I mean, I think we all love it.
Oh yeah, I loved that episode. I would love to see another one.
I definitely need to get Eugene Cordero and Noel Wells also as a live action character somewhere, and not just Mariner and Boimler.
Yeah, sometimes I think they overdo the energy of Mariner and Boimler. I think we could have incorporated more of the cast around them into that.
Last question I had about the Untitled Trek comedy: is Tawny Newsome part of too many Trek things now? Because I mean, Lower Decks, she's in the writers' room for Academy, she's the host of the official Trek podcast, and now this.
No, I love it. Give me more.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm fine with Tawny Newsome. She can be in any Trek she wants to be in, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and for anybody that's never seen Space Force on Netflix, I highly recommend that. That was the first place I saw her just before Lower Decks premiered, and she's great in that too.
Is that the one with Steve Carell? Am
Yes.
I thinking? Okay.
Yep.
I do need to see that then. Cool.
It's funny as hell, and it sucked like most Netflix shows. It was left on a cliffhanger, canceled after 2 seasons, which is why I haven't watched Prodigy. We canceled Netflix because I'm sick to death of them doing like 2 seasons and done. They have thrown so much shit against the wall and so many darts at the dartboard, and then they cancel stuff just as it's hitting its stride.
Yeah, they're really bad at marketing things. They're bad at giving shows a chance to grow by word of mouth. They're just bad at a lot of stuff. I think they need to like, I understand why the writers write a cliffhanger to try to get more like pressure for season 2, but Netflix needs to stop allowing that if they're going to cancel the things at the rate they do. I'm so sick of these shows ending on this huge cliffhanger where I'm like, well, finish the story. Just finish the story. I promise I will still watch the next season if there is one, but don't just leave me hanging like this. It's mean.
I truly gave up on Netflix after they completely destroyed Cowboy Bebop from the ground up. Like, they had no idea like what that show was about and like what like the purpose of the character interactions were. Man, it was such a mess. I haven't had Netflix since. Maybe when we get another season of Castlevania, I'll consider it. But yeah, I haven't gotten into the new season of Prodigy because of that. I really haven't been wanting to give them money so they can take things I like and ruin them. Like, That's not a good use of my money. Like, okay.
I might just wait till November when Prodigy comes out, season 2 comes out on Blu-ray, and just do it that way. Because otherwise, the only other thing I'm waiting for on Netflix is season 2 of Wednesday. That was pretty good.
Oh man, I couldn't sit
The
through
CGI in that show, like someone should be hit for that. It was awful.
Oh yeah,
Really?
I couldn't
love
The
stand it.
monster, the main monster in Wednesday looked so bad. Like the CGI in like the 2008 Van Helsing movie was better than that. I couldn't believe
I'll
it.
give you that. The monster is pretty bullshit, but no, I don't have any problem with the way Wednesday is done.
I had no idea what the tone of Wednesday was supposed to be. Like they started out with her like killing several like people and she just gets shipped off to boarding school. Like the Addams family never goes that far. Like they show people getting hurt and into dangerous situations, but we don't really ever see people get like murdered
Right.
like, in large numbers for him. So yeah, like it destroyed any interest I had through the trailer.
I think it was implied that the kids were just maimed.
Oh, okay, well good.
There was lots of screaming and running from the pool, I think.
I'm
But
okay.
it
I'm okay with children being scarred for life. It's when they die that I get upset, let me tell you.
All right. I think that was all the stuff from the Comic-Cons that we had to talk about.
Did either of you get to go to any Comic-Cons this year at
You're
all?
fucking kidding me, dude.
I haven't gone to Comic-Con since before the start of the Panini. Maybe I'll go back at some point. I did used to go to Emerald City every year, and I really liked it. But
what I hate is that the biggest Comic-Con is every year is San Diego. It's not like a moving thing, and I literally live the furthest possible away in the contiguous United States from San Diego. So that's not going to happen for me anytime soon, and Las Vegas ain't looking much better.
Yeah, let me tell you.
I don't want to go anywhere that hot for like a con. It's already just a hive of nerd sweat in normal temperature weather. Like, nah, I'm good. I'll stick to Seattle.
Yeah, living in Indiana, there's no news being announced at Comic-Con around here, let me tell you. I'm lucky if I get to meet a good anime voice actor in Indiana.
Yeah, the closest you might get someday is Minneapolis, and that's
oh god,
that's still not close.
I'll never be able to make that trip in my pay scale. That's a fantasy for me, Dustin.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it, because even if it came to Boston here, like I might go to that, but even that's like 5 hours away.
Even if it came to Boston.
Boston.
You gotta speak with a Seth MacFarlane Ted voice for the rest of the episode now, Dustin.
I do not. Okay, so we had one other quick thing. I don't have too many things to talk about in it, but for fun, we're going to review episode 3 from season 1 of Lower Decks, Temporal Edict, the Buffer Time episode. So let's talk about that. One thing I'm actually disappointed about, this intro where like Boimler's playing the violin and Mariner's playing the guitar and Tendy's playing the drums. I don't think we've ever come back to them playing an instrument again.
Oh, that's a good point. I did like that they had the ship concert, though. That was such a, like...
it's a Star Trek trope.
Era specific vibe, and it made me so happy.
I like it, but it also made me confused about the attitudes of musical genres at this point in the future. Like, how badass is she if she like plays a guitar so loud that it shakes the whole ship? Like, is it even possible to shake a whole ship in space? I enjoyed it more as just like a silly thing that I did something that actually contributed to authentic worldview of Star Trek.
Yeah, it was a bit much. And then the Klingons are complaining about the bass. Like, is that coming through the comms while they're talking, or is it really bass transmitting through space where sound does not travel?
Some poor Klingon engineer is going to get murked for...
Okay, Mariner has I guess a loud enough amplifier here, okay? But Tendy doesn't have any type of amplification. And I don't know where the hell it's coming from for her to play, and it's driving
Uh,
me nuts.
Obviously, it's for her like Orion badassness from being mistress of the winter constellations.
Yeah, I would go there with there's probably a PA that we're not seeing just off stage, but who
I,
knows?
I do like Mariner's Flying V. That's sharp. I would play that. That's a
Heck
sweet
yeah.
looking guitar. Okay, how do we feel about the Animal House style joke of Boimler getting his violin smashed in half for no reason?
Little guy.
Oh, well, maybe that's why we haven't seen the violin come back in later iterations.
Too
Like,
heartbroken to replicate a new one.
He just doesn't have time to replicate it. It takes like 3 days to replicate that properly.
too many
What?
energy credits.
What the hell is it made out of, too? It's completely crystalline, it looks like.
Yeah, I can't tell if it's supposed to be like steel or like crystal or what.
Yeah.
I bet crystal would be a really interesting material to try to make something like that resonates out of.
I didn't hear anything in particular when he smashed it that gave me a suggestion of that. Like, all I heard was the strings, like, getting crazy. So I have no idea what it's supposed to be based on the foley of it.
Some kind of futuristic violin technology.
So I think this is the first time that we really see how inept Carol is as a captain, which she kind of won't break until season 4.
Yeah. I think some of the writing for Carol is probably like not the strongest in terms of making her a competent captain until then.
Which, I mean,
So
that
cartoony.
also feeds into the idea of Lower Decks. Like, the captain sucks, so we're going to follow people below them instead of the bridge crew like we normally do. But yeah, she's definitely one of the more inept captains. A lot of people, when I did my best 5 worst 5 captains video, were like, well, why didn't you include Freeman? Well, she's not good, that's for sure, but there are definitely worse. She hasn't ordered the execution of thousands of Cardassians or a few other things yet.
Give her time, Dustin. She'll work her way up, buddy.
One thing's for sure, she doesn't have Admiral vibes.
No.
I'm realizing after just doing a rewatch of Voyager that Janeway was always more of an admiral even in the captain's chair. She's got the admiral vibes where she doesn't necessarily give a fuck about protocol, but she's going to get the job done one way or another, even if she's got to kill some people in her way to get it done.
It's very authoritative too. I love Janeway. She actually might be my favorite captain. Like it always like squeaks between her and Picard, but I love Janeway. I always get mad when people complain about her because I'm like, Janeway's the best. Tuvix notwithstanding, shut up.
Yeah, there's Tuvix. There's a couple other things like the time she went when it's a great episode, but Dark Forces or Dark Frontier, I think it's Dark Frontier, where she just up and decides, oh, we're gonna go steal some shit from a Borg ship. Hope everybody's on board. Like that doesn't strike me as what a Federation captain would do, but whatever. It made for a good episode.
I think that stuff with Janeway works a little better in context for Janeway, because I think when you're applying it to Carol in the cartoon, in this very broad cartoon, it just makes her seem a little silly and out of sorts. Whereas with Janeway, it makes her seem headstrong in a compelling way that we hadn't seen from other Trek captains beforehand. And the
ragtag situation.
Yeah. The first season of Lower Decks has problems for me because I just think I think it's a little too broad, like at times. I think it's a little too loud. It goes for some of the easy jokes a little bit here and there in a way that they kind of buffed out over the other seasons.
Yeah, I mean it's a season 1 of Star Trek. Very few season 1s of any Trek show have been good. Save for the original. The TOS is like the only series that started strong and got worse as it went on. And Wind Grace, I just watched that episode yesterday. I am one of those secret lovers of the Irish holodeck episodes.
I love
Those
those.
are
I
great.
love the Fairhaven episodes. They're really fun. Also, I will defend season 1 of Voyager pretty aggressively. I think it's one of the better first seasons in Star Trek.
I'll agree with you, but even then, like versus the rest of its run, it's still weak versus the rest of Voyager.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not bad. Like I can't think of a bad episode in there except maybe the Beowulf one. That's never done anything for me.
Fucking flush that down
I
the
loved
toilet.
When I was little,
Oh.
I had the biggest crush on was it Freya? Frigga?
Yeah. Yep.
She was cute.
Aw. Can I ask you too something while we kind of have Voyager on the mind? Does it ever just drive you mad that they stop so often in Voyager when they're like supposed to be on this trip home, but they're always going off on side missions? Like it's the one thing about the show that really kills me, that like they get sidetracked so much.
It's a road trip without a pit stop. I don't know. I think it'd be pretty boring if they were just go, go, go all the time.
And no, I actually love it because it goes back to cementing them as a Starfleet crew, because they are seeking out new life and new civilizations, boldly going and all that shit.
Yeah, they're in the Delta Quadrant. They got to explore a little.
Good point. I don't know. Maybe I just like conflict resolution more than I
mean, yeah, you would
one season. They should have gone straight home.
I should have gone there 20 years.
Go more in a straight line, but no. But I mean, at the same time, also by doing all the exploration, they're looking for new ways home too. So you got to find ways to get off Gilligan's Island. I mean, that's.
Man, those dick pleasure aliens in that one episode that could have sent them home, but then we're like, nah, screw you. Right?
What episode? What?
I think it was a season 1 episode where it was like these aliens with like this creepy guy with a European accent and little rings on his head.
Oh, yes.
Sorry. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they could have just sent
with
them
the
home.
spatial trajectory.
Like, nah.
Yeah. Yep.
God, I'd totally forgotten about that until you reminded me.
Not a great episode. The tech was cool, and I liked that they brought the tech back in Picard.
I did like the moral question of like, do we steal this technology and go home anyway because they won't let us use it? And then the only problem was they couldn't steal the technology.
It's back to Temporal Edict and Lower Decks. Well, I still have this picture up where Carol's finally pulling out of Boimler how what buffer time really is. Is buffer time a necessary part of being in a space navy?
I think it's a necessary part of any work, honestly.
Yeah, the jobs I've had, they'd be better off if they just let employees do what they need to do, take maybe just a little extra time. It really would not kill them at all. Oh man. Yeah, it's good. You know, the crew needs to have just a little bit of a break there. Like even that far in the future, no one's a machine. No one's going to be able to work nonstop for 24 hours doing the exact same thing.
Plus, like, the whole reason to be in, like, post-scarcity land is so that you get to work, like, a little less, chill out a little more.
Yeah. Sit down, play some 4D chess while the thing is loading.
Go to a bridge concert. Or not a bridge.
So one of the things I noticed, not even just this time, but like after, 2 or 3 seasons and I've gone back and rewatched season 1, how many little things and characters that they set up? They did a really good job of setting themselves up for things that would pay off in the future. That I didn't notice the first time. Like, I never noticed Fletcher until the episode where he bugs out and ends up out of Starfleet for doing stupid shit. But here he is in this episode, and he's in the background of almost every episode before that in season 1.
What? I need to do a rewatch. That's amazing.
He's
That
in
does
almost
make me
every
wonder
episode somewhere.
if they genuinely had the whole Mariner Cedo thing planned from season 1. Because I'm like, I mean, they did name the show after that episode. Like, the creator of the show really liked that episode, so I'm like, maybe they were playing the long game this whole time. That would be really impressive. Like, really good plotting.
That really feels like a Dan Harmon touch. I mean, the Mike McMahon is a former Dan Harmon associate. He was a part of Rick and Morty for a while, and I like stuff like that. And Dan Harmon stuff, like in Community, there was part of a whole season where Abed helps give birth to a baby, like in the background, and like you see several episodes of Abed helping the mother deal with the kid over so long. So yeah, that's a really good touch, and I didn't even know about that until now, so thank you for pointing that out, Dustin. That's really something to savor.
Yeah, another character that I had never, when they announced him, I think it was in season 4, it might have been 3, where they're like, oh, Vendom made captain. Well, who the fuck is Vendom?
Yeah, I don't
Here's
know
fucking Vendom in this episode.
that guy.
Oh, yeah.
Nope. There are just so many little things that when you go back, it's like, oh, okay, well, this was here the whole time, and they've set this up.
That actually makes me really happy, because that's like one of my little pet peeves in long-running cartoons, where they have an episode where they say, oh, this character has always done this and this, and it's like they've never done this and this, and the entire time we've been watching this show until now, I'll buy into it for the premise of the episode because it's a cartoon and that's how cartoons work. But I do hate it a little, and I do always have immense respect when they actually do have the character do this or that, the whole thing through the show, and then make an episode about it.
Now, on the other side of that, the only thing in this episode that it kind of bothers me that they've never touched on again, Mariner seems to have this little secret crush on Jack, but we never bring it back up again.
It also seems to be mutual, because he does think it's hot that she wants to dance in his blood at the end of the episode.
Can you blame the man, though?
Indeed.
Yeah, I like it too, though, how that though sets up, Mariner oh, it's my favorite place, and how she's just constantly sent to the brig.
I'm glad they didn't take the Mariner crush further than that. Sometimes TV shows have a little too much of an urge to pair people off, and that just creates a lot of messiness. I kind of like this sudden horniness that kind of disappears for the rest of the season. It's okay for a fun joke. Maybe we can bring that up later, or maybe not. It doesn't really matter that much. We haven't put too much stakes in it, so we can just kind of laugh it off. It's not a big deal.
I mean, I agree to the point that I don't think I'd actually like to see a whole thing about Mariner and Jack having a relationship or anything, or even having a one-night thing.
Yeah.
But even to just come back to it in an uncomfortable moment again sometime.
Could have come back in the
been
movie episode.
Yeah. Yeah, that was actually one where I was thinking, I was like, why are we not bringing this back when it was happening? But that was just a great episode.
Maybe they're also just they're not getting as turned on as easily by that point in the series too. Maybe they've got some new SSRIs going on.
Yeah, speaking of which, so here's a thing that I've noticed, and it was particularly in 2000 shows, the sexy time room got less and less use in Enterprise after season 1. I mean, we did use it, but it wasn't as big of a thing. And it's the same thing when I've been watching Battlestar Galactica. The first couple of episodes, Jesus, the first fucking episode, the first fucking bit of the miniseries, in the first 20 minutes, there's like 4 different people either fucking or like having some really deep romantic type talk.
If you
And
want
then
to
it
be,
dies off.
It's actually pretty insulting, isn't it? Because it's like, the men won't watch this unless it make their pee-pee hard. Like,
that's what I
why you
wanted to
guys
say.
said that. And like they were like, oh, Voyager, we need to goose the ratings. We need a sexy lady in a catsuit. Like, yes, they did make her one of the best characters, but like, how many times was Seven sex appeal like a little thing that kept coming up? Like, a lot.
But
That's
I
why I
mean, here
wanted
we even get, you know, even got Ransom full ripped friggin' chest
No.
by
Wolverine
episode 3.
Ransom.
That's basically why I wanted to say. We could be kind of cynical about that this early on in the series, anyways. You know, to give people a little bit of something horny to chew on, and they, you know, maybe it pays off later or not, but it helps draw people in. I feel a little cynical about it. This is more funny than arousing to me.
They'll start watching for the horny, but will they keep watching for the Star Trek?
Only time will tell.
In the case of Enterprise, I did not. Originally, when it aired, like I made it about halfway through the first season, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this?"
Tried to watch the first episode a few times when it first came onto streaming when I was in high school. Because my parents didn't like Enterprise, so we didn't have that one on DVD, and I never sought it out on TV. And I had to watch that first episode like 4 times before I finally like got further than that.
I mean,
I do
I
actually
like the
like
first
Enterprise. I think
episode.
it's better than
Actually,
people act like it is. I think it has more going for it, but it definitely feels different than the other Star Trek shows, especially at first.
I actually think Enterprise's first episode might be the best first episode in Trek, to be honest. But the first
Seriously.
season is just, I can't get through the season itself. It's so bad. But then the show gets better. You know, just like it got canceled just as it was hitting its stride in season 4, really, I think.
Yeah, it sucked.
But,
I have avoided Enterprise for my whole life, so please correct me if I'm wrong, but there is like a very famous beautiful like woman who plays a Vulcan in that, right, that people are very
sure
fond
is.
of.
Yep.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
I would highly recommend watching the whole
actually
thing
really good,
because
though.
it gets better as it goes. Season 1 is has a couple of good episodes and a whole lot of garbage. Season 2, a little bit of garbage, or like a couple of really, really bad episodes, and then some decent ones. Season 3 gets really good. Season 4 gets even better, and then it gets canceled.
They got 4 seasons of that thing? God.
Yeah, and the 4th season, they cut the budget in half.
Yeah.
And it still got better, but it changed showrunners, and Manny Koto, he
Okay.
found a way that he did a good job with the scripts. He found good ways to stretch that budget. That's why there's so many 2 and 3 parters in the season, because they could like run their budget together and make more out of it, and they did it really well.
In fairness to Enterprise, I'm sure the worst of Enterprise is better than the best of Babylon 5. Good God, I hate
Possibly.
Babylon 5.
I can't. I've tried. That's a show that I've tried starting a couple of times. People are like, Babylon 5, it's awesome. Well, maybe just season 1 is bad like Star Trek, because I've tried to start it a couple of times, and those first couple episodes don't pull me in.
The costuming of it is just terrible. Just all these feathers and junk. It was on Tubi the other day. Like I let it play because I was busy doing something, and I just had to turn it off after a while. I didn't want to see it at the side of my eye. It's so ugly. Okay, we're getting off topic.
Yeah, I have just a couple more things about this, and then we can rank it, and we can be done. The Boimler effect. What do you think about Boimler getting stuck with something that is completely antithetical to what he actually did and what he actually wanted out of this?
This is so cute. I love it. Poor Boims. Even when he wins, he loses just a little.
I think this episode was what really got me on to looks just as a premise all around, because I think the first 2 episodes had some real growing pains. There was a lot of yelling humor, which they really like that loud humor even into the seasons after this. But yeah, I felt like this one had better targets for its humor, and it did a really good job of establishing who all our characters are together a little bit better than the first two did. Yeah, I love the Boimler effect. It's great.
What did you think about finishing it up with the joke about Miles O'Brien?
Yeah.
All glory to O'Brien.
Yeah, that was another thing that made me want to keep going with Lower Decks, because I felt like that was a very self-aware joke. Really did a good job of kind of bringing in other continuities and fleshing out our world a little bit while still being funny. That's always the problem a Star Trek comedy series is going to have, because I think fans of Star Trek always want to have a united universe, like characters that are close to each other on some level. So you got to find ways to kind of do call outs while also getting jokes out. And this is a good balance of both.
As long as we never get anything like the very short treks again. Good God. Now that I understand this joke, it is the skibbity toilet of Star Trek. It is so bad. I hate the very short treks, and if they ever try to do anything like that with comedy again, yeah, I
actually
hope
haven't
it
watched
goes away
them.
pretty quick.
Yeah,
All you have to do is watch, like,
talk about that, I've just smiled and nodded because I
just watch the first 2 episodes because they're all the fucking same. It's just dumb TikTok level bullshit. It's worth just knowing how bad it is because it's now a cultural reference. But it's not worth watching, that's for sure. And
Yeah,
like one thing I heard this summer is that like the creators of that have signed like a TV deal and a movie deal, and I have no clue how you could possibly ever take this content into anything longer than like 60 seconds.
a movie deal? What kind
Man,
of
I need
fucking
to
movie is this going to be?
on the floor. Holy
You
shit.
got me.
All right.
As long as it doesn't come into Star Trek in the form of very short treks again. Yeah, I don't have anything else about Temporal Edict. Let's you guys do.
I'm forgetting something that was really important. God, I'm going crazy thinking about this. I really like how calm Boimler is during the chaos of people just being completely overworked once buffer time is removed. And that actually made me, yeah, that really,
For me.
yeah. Can we see what that comment was a second ago that popped up?
Mm-hmm.
Getting back legacy actors. Okay, I didn't know that. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it brought back Jonathan Frakes and Gates McFadden and a couple other people, but oh yeah, Uncle George Sulu. But that's not enough when it's not. It doesn't do the job that it was meant to do, which is be funny. I mean, even in a toilet humor way, it fails, and I've never seen toilet humor that it doesn't at least get me to like ha ha chuckle, and those really didn't. So I just hope that whatever the untitled Trek comedy at this point does not devolve into any of that.
I feel like Jonathan Frakes could have wrote those short treks better than the people who are handling them. Oh man.
Speaking of, he had announced sometime this summer while we were on break that the episode that he's directing towards the end of Strange New Worlds, he feels like is the best thing he's ever directed. And that says a lot. So that's something to look forward to for next year.
Sweet.
I want it. Give it to me, Paramount. Give it to me now.
Injected in my veins.
Anybody want to take bets on whether there will be a Paramount by the end of the year? Because already it's looking like Skydance is going to take them over any day now.
Oh,
Skydance?
Yeah.
I'm already so annoyed that they absorbed Showtime because Paramount are real dicks about copyright stuff. And so now all my Yellow Jackets video, I had to do a copyright appeal like months after it was posted because stupid Paramount bought the rights. And I'm so tired of these streaming services buying each other.
Paramount kills themselves doing that shit. We live in the internet age. Your best advertising is people on YouTube using your clips, Paramount.
I
God.
don't understand it. I don't understand it. Like, it used to be so much more, like, doable. Like, you used to be able to use, like, a 15-second clip without a problem, and now you have to do, if it's more than 5 seconds, and you use more than one clip from the thing, that's it. You're done.
Yep.
Like, it's
Yeah, I have a
outrageous.
hard and fast rule with my Star Trek videos. I do not use more than 5 seconds at a time. I haven't had a claim since I started doing that.
Every time I think maybe I could be a little flexy on this, I'm like, nope, damn it, 5 seconds, that's it. And it makes the editing take so much longer because if
Yep,
you want to
because you
keep
got to
the
get
context
that
of
many
the clip,
clips.
you have to cut out like the pauses and the breaths and all this bullshit. I hate it so much. And it's like, I'm giving you free advertising. Just take it and be grateful. Fuck off. Sorry for
I don't
swearing.
think people realize how long it takes to get like the video that I've got coming out next. It's got 150 individual micro clips. It takes a really long time to get those, especially if you're not doing something from like one episode and you're pulling from like the entire franchise. It takes some time to get.
Ren, you never have to apologize for swearing around me. It's okay. I accept you as you are.
Bless.
All right, so for fun, let's give Temporal Edict an out of 10. I'm going to give it a 6. I think it's the most quintessential episode of Lower Decks, especially early on. It laid out, the stakes pretty well. It was the first one that was like, it's decent. It's got a lot of things that it's setting up for the future. It's not perfect. It's not great, but I think it's all the pieces are there that we'll come to know and love as the show goes on. Go ahead, Robbie.
I think I'm going to give it a 7. And I think a 7 is a sound choice for this episode. We still got some of the Lower Decks roughness happening this early on in the season, but our characters feel a little more together. Like they feel a little better off with each other. We're getting gags that have better payoffs. We're actually getting gags that contribute to character development too, and that's a big thing, and that's helped Lower Decks be a better Star Trek series as we're going forward. We get little call outs to other parts of the franchise. I think a 7 is well earned. It only gets better from here.
I'll go right between you guys because I was thinking a 6.5. Yeah, it's a pretty good episode. I agree that it's kind of that first Lower Decks episode that really feels like they're starting to hit their stride, even if they're not like totally there yet. And it does have some of my favorite little jokes. I love the bit at the end. It's so good. Mariner getting stabbed in the leg was pretty just outrageous and silly. Like it's a good episode.
I really like how quick Mariner just like goes berserk on him when she realizes that she's going to have to go to the brig after she forgave him for like stabbing her foot.
Like, oh, I was cool, but you're not going to be cool. Okay.
Yeah, and I also really like the doctor being like, fine, whatever, have a fucked up scar foot. I don't care.
Scars are cool.
Hell yeah.
All right. Does anybody have any final thoughts about anything we've talked about?
Pretty tapped out at this moment, D-Dog.
Nar.
Yeah, we talked about an awful lot today. I'm not even sure what the topic next week is. The week after, we're getting serious. We're getting political. It is the Bell riots. Now that we have reached the time of the Bell riots, and shit's fucking weird. We're so much closer to that than I ever thought we could be when the episode aired in the 90s.
Except we don't have sanctuary cities. We just get rid of our homeless people if they're in the city.
Sweep them under the rug.
Yeah. It's almost like we're, I'll save it for that. I'll save it for 2 weeks. We'll find some fun topic next week to break up the of that. We'll probably take the weekend off for Labor Day, and then we'll be back and find some things to fill in until Lower Decks comes back on October 24th.
Wow!
So, thank you guys for joining me today, and thanks all of you for watching. So until next time, live long